Welcome to Money on Tap. Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters, where we bring out the professionals' experience and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. That's what we do on this show. We look at all sides of the issues, and we bring a fully independent planning perspective to the table. Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info at yourmoneyontap.com. And folks, we are about to embark on a voyage. Together.
That's big.
Together. You and I and Ben, and yep, Tony Skoll is here today, folks. So I just wanted to put my hands together, your hands together, and welcome Tony to the show again. How are you doing, Tony?
I'm doing great, Seth. Thank you for asking.
So, folks, you're listening to Money on Tap, and if this is your first time with us, we want to welcome you, whether you're finding us in a podcast format or if you're joining us via radio. We're going to have some fun today, and we're going to be talking about, well, what we do, which is financial planning. And we're going to open the door here for just a huge topic that I think most people can relate to at some point in time. And hopefully it's been, in the past, but the idea here that we're going to talk about is when people say, I can't. The concept of I can't save for retirement is what we're talking about. So if that's you, or if that's somebody in your family, maybe it's your child, your adult child,
living in your basement,
but maybe
trying to figure out how to pay rent.
Right. But maybe it's you. And I think at some point in time, we've heard of this, and we want to, you know what? We're going to grab it. We're going to run with this today, and we're going to take it head on to talk about you can. Change that idea of you can't to you can. And what are you going to do today to change that and start saving for retirement?
Seth, saving for retirement is obviously, all of the accumulation phase of, asset gathering. It's all of how you build up your assets, accumulating assets and so forth. And then you have that distribution phase, that phase where, you're constantly looking towards your assets to provide that income. Different investment strategies, different concepts, different mentalities of how you look at your money in those two areas. But there's that accumulation and that distribution phase. The accumulation phase is something that it just seems like it takes a little bit for people to get jump started. It takes a little bit of an effort to how do I do this? I'm not used to that. I've been just trying to make ends meet, but now I got to stretch further to now put money away for a time I'm not using right now. And that first step is pretty hard. But then you get to that kind of middle road space where you're like, I really need to pay a lot more attention to this because time moves a lot faster than you realize. and then you get to your kind of 50-55 range, and you're saying to yourself, I've got to put every dollar away for retirement that I possibly can. My kids are out of college. I've got to catch up. It's a little overwhelming. What do I do? And I think what's going to be interesting about this show for a lot of people is that it's going to apply to a lot of people across the spectrum of that accumulation phase story about how you can amplify your retirement, because it's not just about saving the money. It's strategically allocating it to amplify it, to help you get there faster, to help you accomplish that income need, to help you accomplish a true kind of freedom that you're looking for in retirement. Whether you actually have freedom or not is kind of that would be something that you would have to define for yourself. But that's the emotional feeling people are looking to accomplish.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's like the saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And when I work with clients or talk to people and they ask me questions about this kind of thing, I like to use analogies, and just listening to you talk about this, the two of you, and how difficult it is and how challenging it is for folks to start a program, to figure out when they have enough to start investing or working with an advisor. I always compare it to going to the gym. Do you know somebody who, I'm going to join the gym, but I've got to get in shape first?
Yeah, right.
So they try to develop a workout program at home to be in shape or fit enough to join the gym. And that's what
I have one of those in my garage right now.
A machine?
Oh, careful.
Clothes hanger?
We're offending somebody who's trying to do this right now, including myself.
Yeah, right.
But that's just it. I think everybody can relate to that is, you get that often. I'd love to work with you, but I don't have enough. And where do you start?
Well, we were just talking about that today. We just literally had a conversation about this, an hour and a half ago. A client called and said their child wanted to start a retirement plan, and it's probably not. Who would you recommend to start with, or what was?
Well, yeah, well, that was a little bit different in that they find a tough time finding somebody that will work with somebody who's starting out because they don't meet their asset minimums, and that's maybe another reason why people kind of pull back a little bit about calling us or talking to us because they might feel like they're not qualified to be a client of an advisor. They don't have enough. And my response is usually like, well, how are you going to get enough if you don't start?
Right.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Tony. And that's what we're talking about today on Money on Tap.
I missed my thumb.
We are going to hit several nails on the head today. But before we really get into the meat of the show, we're going to take a little tour over here to Money in the News. First off, one of my favorite names to spend some time in is IKEA. If you've never been to one of their stores before, it is an experience unlike anything else. But look at IKEA right now has 2 new store formats that free shoppers from the maze of aisles that we've been accustomed to. Now, Fox Business is bringing us this article, and you know what? I'm all for it. I cannot wait to see what these new IKEA formats look like.
If you haven't been to an IKEA store, which not everyone has because there's not a lot of them, and you've never been to one, Tony?
Never been to one.
So it is literally like, it's pretty much it exists with every fear that I possess in the idea of shopping. I mean, it is floor upon floor of a maze of going from one houseware item to another, to couches, to living spaces. But it's literally a maze. And there's you have to transverse through these places. And there's a couple of cut through spaces that eventually, after you're lost 20 times, you've cut through that space enough that you recognize it again. And if you've been to IKEA, you're all probably yeah, he's right on. And you have to literally walk through every houseware known to man. And now, for me, it was more than known to man because I don't know all of them. But I mean, it's overwhelming. It's literally the largest warehouse I've ever been through. And then when you think you're done, right? Your wife's like, oh yeah, grab that tag and we're going to get this and this will be great for the kids' room or whatever. That's just the beginning. Because then you walk out of the showroom space and you have to walk through the other part of the warehouse you never saw. So you've got multiple floors of a maze beyond paralleled existence. And then you have this warehouse that you have to go find, letter G, item 22. And it's 5 bays high. And you're and then you're wheeling this stuff out. And then you're now I know why we brought the van. And then and people have trailers and trucks, and then you're oh, okay, we paid and we loaded the vehicle and this is great. And then you get home and you're oh, I got to put it all together.
I have heard about that part of it.
So IKEA has this whole new method of shopping, which is you can go in, see the thing you want, grab it, and go. It sounds like traditional.
It's genius. Whoever came up with this idea is genius.
The newfangled idea of going in to get what you want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get the okay, first of all, I will tell you that there's probably 5 or 10 things in our house that we would never own if we didn't have to walk through 4 miles. And you look at the step counter on your phone or your watch or whatever when you're done with IKEA, you're I just did today, yesterday, and tomorrow. But it's that massive. But I would tell you that there's so much stuff. You just pass stuff and she's like, oh, we need this or oh, we need that. And I'm like, no, we don't need any of it. We live perfectly fine as it is right now.
But what you realize in that moment is if you don't actually grab that and put it in your cart, you will never come back again.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
Never. Good luck turning around in that store and walking like the 5 blocks back to get to the thing that
you weren't quite sure about.
You should have picked up, and now
for all the women,
all you can hear about is, "I wish you. Why didn't you pick that up?
Yeah,
you should have grabbed that.
We could have used that. That would have been helpful." All the women listening to this show today are like, "This is exactly how your husbands think of IKEA." Just so you know, if you're ever wondering their perspective on IKEA, I just gave it to you because there's not a man that disagrees with me on that.
I'm pretty sure they did an episode about this on 30 Rock. It was like the date challenge was to go to IKEA to test your relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Which I didn't get until now you're telling me about this.
That was actually my idea. I thought that's what every marriage counselor should incorporate is going to IKEA, picking something up that's significant and putting it together. And if you can survive that, you'll probably do fine in marriage.
My son Colin has torturous memories of putting things together with me with IKEA. No, it's got to be that way. No, you got to do this. So,
hey, welcome to
just like the store.
Yeah, where's my herring?
We're stuck. We are stuck. Welcome to. Now, I think we actually have a. This is Ben's favorite. Ben's favorite. It's going to come to us from CNN Business. And this is fair and balanced because the last one was from Fox.
Oh yeah, Communist News Network. Let's rock it out. Let's go.
Hey, markets now welcome to the big SPAC slowdown. That's I did read that correctly, but it didn't feel right. I don't know. I must be swimming against the SPACs. So here we go, folks. It's SPACs.
The SPAC world is very interesting. It has to do with all these companies that want to go public on the exchanges and so forth have found alternative routes to go public without having to go through all the red tape and issues. So they're creating this absorption thing. They register this blank check company, and this company starts buying out, and there's an arrangement, and they're already launched as a stock. So it minimizes it. DraftKings was one of those things this last year. Space, which is Virgin Galactic. There's a number of companies that have done this. These things have been very, very volatile, very, very dangerous, high-risk investments, to say the least. I mean, people have lost a lot of money in these, but there's a lot of speculation on where SPACs play in the future because it seems like the traditional IPO space has actually done a little better than that this year. But there's some spin-offs from the SPACs that are happening as well. But there's just been a slowdown because the appetite for kind of the run-up of the stock and then the sharp pullbacks and the high volatility has not played favorably into the idea of what these are going to do long-term. And, there's some arguments basically between the SEC and how some of these companies are being opened and what they actually exist like. One of them looked like more of an investment firm where some of them are supposed to be more of an acquisition firm. I would just say that, for the news, and there's a lot of conversation around SPACs, and we get phone calls on what is this stuff, and clients ask what these things are. And I would just tell you that, if you're not sure what you're buying or what it is, you shouldn't buy it. Like if you don't know what the company does, what their goals are, what they, what you believe they're going to attain, that's what investing is about. Gambling is not knowing, right? You don't know what's going to turn up when you roll the dice. That's gambling. But if you really feel like, hey, this company makes this product, and I think a lot more people are going to want to own that product, that's investing because you believe in the product, the goals of the company, and so forth. These SPACs are trying to create a simpler way to get some of those products out on the market, and they've become speculative in the idea that some people say, oh, well, this SPAC is going to be this and going to do that, and sometimes it doesn't happen at all. And so that's dangerous.
One of the examples that comes to mind is actually in the article here, which is Nikola, right? Made the news a couple years ago. I can't believe it's actually been a couple of years ago. Maybe it's only been a year.
Yeah.
But several problems with the accounting and basically all the stuff that was being presented to the public, come to find out is not true. So one of the ideas that I heard this last week was, well, they're going to actually have a vehicle come to the market in 4 years. So wouldn't you like to invest in it now and they used the example of Tesla and what happened with Tesla. And, this is not like for one, but like, of course you want to be investing in things and it goes up, but this was not, this is just incredibly speculative to try to come alongside that idea and say, well, they're going to come to market with the vehicle in 4 years. They're not going to have anything to sell in 4 years. So where's all the money coming from? It's coming from investors that are speculative. And if that's what you do, that's fine. But most of the people that are looking to invest for or towards any, a goal like retirement, not the solution, folks.
Well, unless you're younger and you have that time. But like Ben was saying, if it's a gamble and they're looking for the early run-ups, you just said it, Seth. If their product's not coming to market for 4 years, how would you expect your investment to increase in 4 months or 4 days or 4 hours, the way some people are so impatient about returns?
I actually know a lot about that company. I've followed that company pretty closely. I've listened to the former CEO speak many times on CNBC. I've just followed it in a very interesting manner because there's a lot. They're really into the electric vehicle, big commercial space. They're not necessarily looking at the cars, though. Their number one hit is going to be tractor trailers and that kind of general. I'm just generalizing this for everybody to understand. And so, it's just interesting because, there's been speculation about whether it's just total fraud, like they actually don't have a vehicle at all. And then there was, I can't remember, it was the CEO of some major legitimate company who said, I've seen the example of the vehicle. I've seen it function and work. And he's like, so whether or not there's been fraudulent conversation and accounting issues and all this stuff, like who knows what it is and whether they'll come to market with something, I have no idea. But yeah, it's just, when people were buying the stock, they were thinking that, hey, listen, this thing's going to rise. And, I want to own Tesla 10 years ago, But
so here's a similar thing that actually came up the other day for us in our house, which this is not common, but I was at the store and I was like, you know what? I haven't bought a scratch off, a little lottery ticket. You guys have scratch offs?
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about? Okay. All right. Some states do.
I've heard that. Same with the rest.
Yeah, it's $1, $2, little lottery ticket. It's like you can win some this, that, or another. It's just all for entertainment and fun. But I brought them home, and the kids, which are 5 and 9, are gathered around these tickets because they're exciting and they look cool or whatever. And we go through this process of let's scratch the ticket, let's see what it does, and all they could see was, what could we win? Oh my gosh, we could win $2,000 or $17,000 grand prize. And the question that they asked me is, well, can we lose money doing this?
Interesting.
And I said, I was like, yes, you already have. We spent the money to do this. And they couldn't figure out, like they were thinking somehow if we scratch the ticket, it will go into the bank account and pull money out. More money out, right? Oh. Like the opposite effect.
Oh, if you lost. Yeah.
Right.
That's coming.
So, but it's just that's just what it feels like when you hear blank check companies and SPACs is just, it really feels like there's like this, there's a limitless loss opportunity here. That's going to round it out for us here at Money in the News. You're listening to Money on Tap. Now, when we come back, we are going to be speaking to you. Somebody that has said, I cannot save for retirement. I can't. Well, we are here to take that idea, shatter it, and come through like we've got our superhero capes on. We're just about ready to put them on here because we're going to save the day, Money on Tap, and create some ways for you to save for retirement, folks. That's what we're doing here at Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We'll be right back. Hey folks, Seth Krussman Brayshaw Financial Group is our company, and we bring to you Money on Tap. I say we, that's Ben and I. We have a lot of fun doing this show. And one of the things that we love about doing Money on Tap is that our goal for you to have access to the financial planning world. How do we think? What are we doing? What are we talking about? Raising the bar of your financial education. It's so critical. And that's what we're doing here. The other side of this is as well, we're financial planners. If you are looking to work with a financial planner, if you want to have that playbook for you to understand the important things right now and how you're going to get to your goals or how you're going to retire successfully, that's what we're doing as well. If you have $250,000 of investable assets, give us a call. It's free to you, and it is worth your time to pick up that phone and give us a call and discover what complete wealth management looks like. Ben and I are excited about the opportunity to partner with you and give you that financial plan that's going to make the next step so much better understood and get you where you need to go.
Now back to Money on Tap with Ben and Seth.
Welcome back. You are listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. And more and more every day, we enjoy watching and getting more connected with our podcast listeners. And if you're on radio right now, you haven't checked out podcast, it's awesome. It's awesome because you can stop me from saying what I'm saying right now and go straight to Tony and listen to what Tony has to say today or Ben, because,
I can't do that though. I can't do that right now, Seth.
You're stuck. If you're sitting here listening on the radio, you might have options, but we know you don't want to go there right now because we are going to be talking about this idea that you cannot save for retirement. We're going to shatter this, and we're going to construct several ways that you can become a saver, or even, like you said earlier, Ben, an enhanced or a super saver towards you getting to your goals. And, the idea of retirement or saving and having a nest egg or future income after you've accumulated some assets, it is beautiful, and it takes intentionality. And what we're talking about today, I guarantee you there's going to be something that you can take and you can bring home and, show off as bright and shiny and new to whoever your loved one are to start doing this differently. So let's go.
Well, Seth, as I spoke, if you're just joining us too, I mean, we're the whole idea of just getting started in retirement is not just about getting started because you're putting $1 in, right? I mean, it's all about the accumulation phase, whether you're just beginning, you're in the middle, or you're kind of approaching that early retirement phase coming in. You're going through all different sorts of woes, and we as a group have experienced every fear and concern that clients have when they walk through the door, and have had to address all of those. At this point in time, there's very little that we haven't really kind of engaged with on somebody who said, hey, I've got this problem or that problem. I've got a son, a daughter, a special needs trust. I've got my husband's ill. I'm trying to figure this out. I'm recently divorced. I could make up 1,000 different stories of what we've experienced and had to, grapple with, and just kind of, be by somebody's side as we kind of walk them through it.
Navigate the challenges.
Yeah, and saving for retirement is just one of those things that's just kind of like it's the last part of the story, both in what your life is going to be, right? You're going to use it in retirement, but every other expense comes in, right? You get married, you buy your house. It's the most expensive investment of your life, and you pay for that for 30 years and continue to upgrade, and then then you start having kids and you start filling that house, and it's just expense after expense, and you got to get a new car, and they just keep piling up, and then all of a sudden those kids go to college, and it just absorbs all that money out of your pocket, and you're still trying to figure out, I've been putting a little bit into my retirement plan at work, and it just doesn't feel like enough. And then when those kids get out of college, you're like, goodness gracious, I've got to put everything I possibly can away right now, and I've got to catch up quick.
I'm already discouraged at this point, Ben,
I know.
because you've covered pretty much every woe, as you said in the beginning, that we've had come through the door, and it's incredible, like how unkind we can be to ourselves. It just is human beings, a lot of the time, these thoughts and these ideas, and I'm sure there's somewhere you've related with one of these parts that Ben is talking about right now, but it can be, it's a struggle. That's the piece right here that we're going to tackle.
Yeah. And I think the thing is that, as people are kind of going through these different stages of life, putting money away and trying to articulate that in a physical form to accomplish that, each one of those pieces of savings, it's a difficult task. And when you think about Ben Franklin saying that compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe, well, if you've waited till your late 50s, it's like, oh, goodness gracious, that only makes the story even worse, right, Seth? And so then it really comes down to, what do you need in retirement? And that brings us kind of to our first point, which is it's all about income and how much of that income you get to keep. And so considering distributions and savings, no matter where your savings is, no matter how much you're putting away, whether it's $5 and you're 20 years old and you're starting out with your first retirement plan, considering how much of that you're going to keep 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years down the road is probably the most important thing. Because right now taxes are exceptionally low for our country's history. And paying taxes today is actually probably a lot cheaper than the anticipated tax rates of the future years that we have coming. I mean, especially with, again, another, $5 trillion or $6 trillion voted in of more spending, which is just, in my opinion, irresponsible and completely overburdening our future American kids, the kids that we all have today, that we're going to have to swallow some of it. They're going to have to eat all of it. And I think that's concerning. So how are they going to get that money? How are they going to tax us? Taxes have to go up in this country. Spending also needs to go down, because that's the only two ways that we run our budgets at our house. You run your budgets at your houses. That's how we have to run our government. That's just the only way it works. And I've joked around before, we could nuke China and kill half our debt, but that's not going to happen, right? If anything, that relationship's only getting more and more tenuous. And so that brings me to the number one thing that I think that everyone really needs to consider is their Roth options. And 75% of all 401k plans in this country have a Roth investment option that most people don't take advantage of.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was just going to say, I mean, you bring it up, and I think people had heard the term Roth, may not know exactly the difference between a traditional and Roth. So when you bring it up in terms of a 401k, really usually get that blank stare. Like, I think I saw something in my benefits package about it, but maybe not.
Right. I think maybe somebody else has a Roth. Is it the Roth IRA? There's a Roth portion to my 401k. Most people have one now. They're pretty standard. You're putting after-tax money in. So you're putting money in that you're going to have to pay taxes on this year. So you're not going to get that deductibility, but it's going to grow tax-free and it's going to come out to you tax-free. And you got to take advantage of this now. And I'll tell you, I've said it probably before on this radio show. I've said it to clients and people over the years. Our government's going to figure out how to tax us on this money. They're going to, but they're not going to be able to tax it like income. What I foreshadow is that we're going to see a federal sales tax, because there's going to be so much Roth money in the future that I think a federal sales tax is probably around the corner in the next 10 to 15 years.
Ben, I love how you're giving them ideas. Like, hey guys, thank Ben for giving them the federal sales tax idea.
Well, I mean, they're not stupid. I mean, I haven't heard anyone talk about it, but we think about it right now, right? We have state sales tax right here in New Hampshire. It's dining, right? When you go out and buy food,
meals tax,
and room and board tax.
True. Yep.
So, if you take money out of your 401k and you're in retirement, you pay income tax on that, and then you go out and you pay sales tax if you use that to buy food, right? And most states do it across the board. To think that there's not going to be a federal option to try to grasp that portion of your Roth distribution, I could see that federal sales tax being 10 or 15%. That's painful. And if you have a retirement plan that's pre-tax 401k, so it's not the Roth side, not only are you going to be subject to that income tax level, but you'd be subject to a federal sales tax. Now, for people who are just joining us, there is no federal sales tax. Okay. But I could foreshadow they're going to come up with a way to figure out how to tax you on that Roth money that's out, that allowed everything else to happen as they promised. I think they're eventually going to shut that door. But taking advantage of it while it's open is highly important. And just this week, we're in the middle of converting Roth money this year right now for clients left and right within the tax brackets that they're in. So,
So maybe that doesn't necessarily answer the question right out of the gate of how you're going to start saving for retirement, but we're backing into this, right? Which the information that we have right now is that there's 75% of employers with a workplace 401k, which is the most common of workplace savings plans, is the 401k. But if 75% of those offer a Roth, now, if you're struggling right now to just save a dime or anything towards your retirement, the idea that we want to work towards here is starting small.
Just do it. Just do it. Nike, just do it.
Just do it. Yes. We that's what we're going to do. We're going to take right now. You're going to go and you're going to find out, yes, I have a workplace plan. It's a 401k. You check the box. Good. All right. Now you're going to start saving 1% of that. 1% of that. Now, probably what's going to happen is that the workplace is going to match that, and they're going to give you 1% as an incentive to match that for you. Not every plan does, but most of the 401ks out there do. And if you take a look here at the average 401k investors that right now is saying, I can't, guess what? They're not taking advantage of this. They can, and they're just not. And of the statistics that we have around those, the people that are just kind of defaulting into it, maybe the plan automatically invests them. They're going to use an age-based, what's considered an age-appropriate or target date fund for them to automatically invest. So, folks, we're saying, first of all, pay attention. Okay, grab that plan, start with 1%, and then call them up or call us up, and let's go ahead and create something for you. You can do this.
Well, I'd like to elaborate on that further. I wouldn't even just say do what you can, start with 1%. I mean, if you look at your plan and your company's matching, and I know a while ago most of them did, and some have pulled back a little bit and maybe suspended matches. But if your company's matching, you're leaving money on the table that you probably don't understand. I mean, if they've got a 3% match and you don't accept that's 100% return on your contribution, not even your investment.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not taking advantage of any of them, the match is free money, right? So
exactly.
if you save, they're going to save for you. So that's a straight win. And I think, Seth, you're right. You just take 1%. If you can't mitigate 1% off your budget, whether that's probably a Starbucks, a couple of Starbucks drinks a month or something like that, you've got to get to 1%. And when you get to 1% next year, your goal is 2%, and you just keep moving that dial as much as you possibly can. Maybe it's 1.5%. But get that automatic savings, because once your check comes through, you just kind of figure out how to live off of it. And and that's really the win right there.
A lot of these plans also include with them the sometimes they just do it for you, which is great if this is the way it works. But if not, you should have an option of auto escalating that. So if you start at 1%, you check the box for, yes, I want to auto escalate that in 6 months or a year. It's going to increase that another percent. So, as you hopefully get a little cost of earning increase, or, a raise in your salary or whatever, however you're receiving your income, then we're going to start to take that and put it aside automatically. So you don't have to really even think about this.
I would even say that, for the people who may have a little bit more ability to communicate with their employer, if you go to your employer and say, listen, I'm really living, paycheck to paycheck. I mean, we're barely making ends meet. It's been tough because of COVID. I really want to get started in my retirement plan, and I'd like to just add 1% to a retirement plan, would you give me a 1% raise? You think an employer is going to say no to that? I don't think so. I don't think so to now in this time period with the number of help wanted ads that are out there and all the things going on. If you just tell your employer, I just want to be able to save for retirement, don't say it to not do it, but to really do it. I would wager that there's probably almost every employer for somebody who works hard, shows up on time, is absolutely going to say, I want to take care of you. That's why they put the 401k plan in place to begin with. And it's there for everyone to take care of you, and they want to see you do that. And if that's the one thing that's holding you back from doing it, I bet you anything they would do it.
Yeah. So if you're on your first week or first month of employment at the job and you go to the boss and say this to them, they may not respond the way that Ben is thinking here. There was a couple of other pieces there that, show up for work on time, do good work. You've been there for a little over a month, hopefully, and away you go.
Yeah, no, I'm talking to somebody who's been there, 6 months or a year, and you're like, I'm really getting engaged. I just got the 401k package. I want to do this. I really can't afford it. It's been hard. It's been hard for people the last couple of years. So if you're a hard worker, there's not an employer that's not going to say yes to that, I think. Which brings me to point 3, which was what?
Did we? I was excited about the second one here that I'm seeing.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Seth. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, because I know you really want to get into this next one here, but this is the automatic savings. This is kind of a dovetail into that automatic retirement contribution, which that 401k can do. There's other plans out there that can do this as well. Just give us a call, let us know what you have, and we'll help you get started in that direction. Speaking of which, give us a call at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. And we'd love to help you get going in that direction. And usually that's, a 10-15 minute phone call at tops to help you do this. The next piece, though, which is really a clever kind of invention or device that is called Acorns. And it's what it does is pretty simple. It takes, for instance, you have a $2.50 pack of gum. It will take that 50 cents and round it up to $3, and it'll just put it into a non-qualified savings program for you. And once you build those up, then there's other things that you can do with those, but it's an automatic way for you to not really have to curb your spending activity. It's taking advantage of this idea that you are a spender and that pretty much every item that you buy out there is never truly $4 on the money. It's always got some change in there that it's gonna 97 cents or whatever it is that they're charging you on that. So you can take that additional money, just start moving it and shuffling it over to that savings program.
It's funny, Seth, you said it and you're very excited about the concept that was new, and it just dawned on me that for our older generations that might be listening, this really isn't such a new concept. I don't know how many people at home still have their change jar from back in the days when we used to use real cash.
Yeah.
And that's it. You walk around, you buy something, you have some leftover change in your pocket, and you come home and you throw it in the jar, that forced savings, and the jar fills up. You go and deposit it into an account or convert it to actual paper money.
It used to be a vacation fund for my family.
Yeah.
It's like
the swear jar, the loose change jar, anything.
The swear jar. That better be empty, Tony.
That was a college fund.
That was the Lake Winnipesaukee jar.
But same concept, and kind of dovetailing with all these ideas. Something that jumps to my head as well is Ben's mentioned compound interest. Seth's talked about just the loose change or the acorn type savings, but. Just remember, it does take a little bit of time, but kind of like my gym analogy earlier, you might feel like you got to get in shape before you can start working out. Then you go and you step on the scale and realize, well, I've been working out for a week. I actually gained weight. And that's, the conversion of, fat to muscle before you lose
the weight.
Similar kind of thing. You might feel like you're doing this for 6 months, a year, 2 years, and it's not really getting anywhere. But if you stick with it, you'll start to see that compounding effect kick in and realize, well, wait a minute, my $1,000 is now $3,000. It's now $9,000. And
that is about the cost of college tuition, that was where you're going with it, right?
Exactly.
No, that'll get you.
Well, I think from a disclosure standpoint, I know nothing about Acorn. I think it's a very interesting scenario, and we're not promoting it or recommending it at all. It might be great. I have no idea. So, but the concept I think is really very interesting. I mean, even Bank of America, I think you can round your change for donation. I mean, people are doing this in all different formats.
Absolutely.
In different concepts. So this is not a new, and you're right. I mean, I had a change jar at our house, which is not a swear jar, was actually very full. But my dad used to
still do it. Unfortunately, I just don't use cash that much, so it takes forever to fill it.
Can someone change $1 for me? I got to throw something in the swear jar.
I used to. Exactly, it's funny you say that. When I was younger, I actually used to do that. In order to accelerate my forced savings, I would actually go when I was at the store and ask for change for $5 specifically so I could put it in the jar.
Oh. So anyways, well, okay, so moving on.
It's a fun game.
We got
all right, number 3 finally.
Yeah, so we got, reduce irrelevant spending. I mean, that's kind of the obvious one. But, I mean, it really has to be intentional. It has to be, hey, listen, I'm not going to have a Starbucks today. Make those choices. Like, figure out how many times you go and just cut it down by 10%. Cut it down by 20%. Figure out how you're going to move that dial forward. And don't treat yourself in another different way. Like, well, I'm not going to Starbucks, but I'm going to have lunch at, Whole Foods or Whole Paycheck, and, bring lunch to work. Those are the types of things that you can do to try to curtail your spending. Now, it doesn't mean that you just cut it out of your life, right? I mean, I've met people that have literally cut nicotine out of their life or alcohol out of their life just to save money because they spend a lot of money on that stuff. Those are expensive habits, and it's not we're not here to debate.
Not necessarily healthy ones either, too.
Right.
So there's twofold.
Well, there's two issues there, but when you have addictive items, that's a whole nother issue. Right. And then people have medicines that are expensive, right? And so figuring out how to find ways to save on medicines, there's opportunities out there ways that create research, and people are doing those things, but work with your doctor too on that stuff, because as much as your health is exceptionally important, you want to make sure that you're managing it. I mean, because some of these pharmaceutical companies, they get their money.
And you're exactly right. I mean, once you find those opportunities to save the money, then it's really on you to then save it and parlay that into a savings or an investment option as opposed to another spending opportunity.
Right. Right. Number 4, and I know we're going to take a break here in a second, Seth. But I'm just going to kind of run into number 4 here.
I'm coming back.
Refining your home. The interest rates have dropped a lot, and they're kind of moving up and down and so forth. And we're expecting interest rates to be higher in the next year and a half. If you haven't refinanced your home and you're kind of settled in because you can't find a house to do it, it might be a good time to refi just to create more cash flow. That doesn't mean you might take the same number of years, bring down the interest rate, and it just creates $50 a month. It might be a small savings, but it could go towards retirement. It could be that you're saying to yourself, hey, listen, I'm just out of responsibility want a fixed rate, and that might cost you more money, but then that becomes part of your investment because maybe you were at a 10-year ARM or something like that. So there's ways to do investments in that capacity too. And refining your house is, as your largest asset, is usually pretty important.
Cash flow is critical. That's what we're talking about, is creating more of that cash flow. We're taking advantage of the cash flow that you have and some of the spending that you're doing right now and diverting some of that off to the side to create, retirement savings. You can save for retirement. So we're talking about a Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We'll be right back.
Call us today at 855-226-8551 and get your free consultation with Ben Brayshaw or Seth Krussman or any one of our partners and find out what's going on in your plan, your estate plan, your financial plan, or what you're planning at all, if nothing. Get it fixed, get it right, get it done today. Give us a call at 855-226-8551.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Well, folks, it is definitely that time in the show where we are going to go ahead and continue to go down the path of saving for retirement. And we're talking about several ways that we've helped clients, we've helped friends, we have had many conversations, whether in our own homes or with you in our offices, to try to figure out ways to save for retirement. We've had plenty of those people that have come in and said, hey, I can't. But we're here to tell you, you can. And the perspective and the ways that you can do that are many. But we're just going to highlight a few of these. And continuing down that path, we've got to consider the idea. I'm not saying you have to sign up for this idea right away, but you might want to consider the idea of not eating out at a dine-in restaurant all the time.
Well,
and
Seth,
Ben, you are the master of this. I love how this is like the favorite one that you bring to me every time that I'm telling you, man, I can't save for retirement.
I tell this to people all the time. I mean, I feel bad that, waiters and waitresses out there need to make a living, but if you want to eat out, there's ways to eat out without having to pay a waiter or waitress. There's a lot of really cool places where you could be your own waiter or waitress, and it's more of a relaxed, casual. Some people really want kind of that very professional waiter experience. But the truth is if you're trying to save money, 15% or 20% tip. If you eat out 4 times, let's say you eat out 4 times a month, okay, and you spend $100 each time, and let's say that includes tip, okay. And some people say, well, I spend less than that or whatever. But if that's $400, right? I mean, that's $60 a month on average that you could save just by finding new favorite places to eat that you could still go out and not pay a tip. And, those places traditionally you might even spend a little less money. I mean, my wife and I, we go to places all over, the area. We go to Five Guys. Seriously, we go to just simple places. We just sit down because there's nobody's forcing us out of the restaurant. And I'm just trying to think about different places that we go.
But you can't because you're stuck on Five Guys. Every time I come and see you, it's like, we're going to Five Guys. And now I know it's because you don't want a tip. I'm a cheap date.
I know. That's exactly it. I'm just trying to think. There's a bunch of places that we do this at. We go to
the grocery store sometime where they have like
Chick-fil-A. I mean, Chick-fil-A is great. We drive down to Nashua. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say there's new seasons over here, and there's lots of grocery stores or grocery chains where they've got the kind of the restaurant inside, and you can go and it kind of reminds me a little bit of college at Liberty University where they had like the stir fry bar. You'd kind of go over to the salad and you'd put all these things together, and your sauces or seasonings, and then
I pick up Chinese.
Hand it off to them.
I pick up Chinese food at the restaurant, and I meet my wife and the kids at the park, and we just eat there and just hang out. And the kids run around. We kick a ball around. I mean, we've done that. We've even done it in the winter and gone ice skating on like a kind of a nice afternoon day. So you don't have to. I mean, and there's actually, I can tell you that our family enjoys that way more than the formal sit down, wait for the waitress at Longhorn. So.
I was like, Longhorn?
Yeah.
They still have those?
Yeah, they do in Concord. So, that's, I think, very interesting. And then I would tell you that our number 5 area is, cook on the Barbie. Have some friends over. And that can be expensive. You got to be careful. You're not cooking for everybody. But, just be like, hey, listen, everyone, bring your burgers.
For lobster.
Yeah, bring your lobsters if that's what you want to cook. But you can have a really great friend. Bring your own drinks. It's kind of like a potluck dinner at someone's house. Nobody needs to carry everyone else's expenses, and that's fair, right? But we want to spend time together. And as a community, I think coming together more now after the last couple of years that we've been through is really healthy and probably really encouraging to a lot of people who have been cooped up for so long.
Right. And our neighborhood's done that. They do potlucks or bring your own plate gatherings.
Do they invite you, or
not usually. I think they accidentally send it to me through my wife's email, but yeah, no. And it's funny, she talked about hosting at one time, and like you said, it got expensive, but it doesn't have to be, because she said, well, we could do like a taco bar, which it's a lot of fun. You can have some good food. Who doesn't like a good taco? But you don't
have to feed everybody. You just tell everybody, listen, this is what I'm doing, a potluck. We're all bringing something. Here you go. Have fun.
The kids, we make our own pizzas.
Yeah. Yeah, no, seriously, I love all that.
Yeah.
That's good. So.
Yeah, it's creative, too. I think there's something in the process here that you were talking about doing the not going and dining out, but you have these ideas that are more creative and more fun in the end than just kind of doing the status quo, sit down ordeal.
Absolutely. I will tell you,
I'm inspired.
Well, the other night I was working late. My wife was like, in the area. She's like, I'm picking up dinner. I'm bringing it to the office. I got the kids with us. We'll sit down. We had a nice hour joking around dinner, and it was great. It wasn't expensive. It was just convenient, and it was helpful, and that was great. I mean, and bringing up our last point, I know we're running out of time here, and this is more something I would say is what is being inventive in today's world, which is creating a fun alternative income. Creating your own little company, whether it's a coaching class or a cooking class. You can do all these things by Zoom, and they can do everything remotely, and teaching music. You can do these things electronically in a way that's never been done before. COVID has really created. And guess what? You can get paid for it, make some money. And the best part is that it opens up additional tax deductions for you. It creates opportunities to deduct taxes on expenses you might already have, like things for your equipment, or if you needed a new computer to do something on Zoom. Like, these are things you can deduct against your business to help towards your overall tax picture, which would potentially save you money on top of making some too.
Yeah, that's always been something that I've always found an interest in, and maybe it's has a role in what we do for work. But
you're a musician.
Yeah, and recreationally, it's funny that's what made me think of it, is because in conjunction with my music hobby of playing, then obviously anybody who's ever got into, now I play guitar. There's a term called GAS, it's guitar acquisition syndrome. There's always a new instrument you were interested in, or amplifiers, picks. There's so many accessories and things like that, but it can get pretty expensive. But, as you mentioned, there are ways to supplement those expenses with, entrepreneurial aspects, whereas sometimes, I might buy and sell gear in exchange, whether it's even guitars. I mean, sometimes I've had that. You start out with one, you think you have to have it, then you see another one you want. Well, instead of having a massive collection, you might sell one to buy another one. And my wife gets very frustrated all the time because I have a few different hobbies, and she says that. She's like, I wish I could find a hobby that can support itself the way you do. And
we should have her in here.
that would be. We need a weekend show series for that one. But she does find out how almost inevitably any hobby or interest I have turns into something that then makes it self-sustaining. It doesn't become a drag on household expenses. There's always a way to parlay. Like you said, you can tutor, you can mentor, you can coach, you can whether if it's golf. So a lot of people are golf. Golf's not an inexpensive hobby, but you could work with some kids, especially nowadays. I mean, parents might throw you a few bucks to give them some lessons.
No one's going to pay me to give their kids lessons.
Well, you dress the part, Ben, though, and I think I would actually probably hire you you look like a spectacular golfer, specimen of PGA perfection.
Oh man, that's bad.
I wanted to say here, if this is something that you haven't explored yet, there's other avenues. If you don't have the idea, if you're not as creative as Tony or Ben are, you can research this. There's a lot of ways that people do this that they're kind of plug and play, and you don't have to be this serial entrepreneur always finding a way to really turn things into another income. And it's it can be a lot of fun, and who knows, you might actually really tap into something you didn't even know was there. And start doing that and become an entrepreneur, because that also can be a learned trait and learned skill too. Folks, you have been listening to Money on Tap. We appreciate you joining us today as we find many, many ways that you now can save for retirement or save better for retirement. You've been listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We've enjoyed the show today. We've been grateful for you for joining us. We thank you for calling us and giving us an opportunity to speak into your life and be trusted advisors with you. That's something we hold really sacred, and we want to appreciate you for that. So thank you so much. And we just also want to appreciate you for allowing us to be who we are and have fun with what we do on a daily basis, which is financial planning. You can also find us at Facebook. We're at /3D Investing. We're also on Twitter at BFG_LLC. And as always, you can also find us at yourmoney.com. moneyontap.com. Thanks for listening. Thanks for liking our podcast. We appreciate you, and we can't wait to make it a great day and a great life with you here at Money on Tap.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of this radio station and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. No strategy, product, material, or tool mentioned can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information, products, materials, or tools mentioned should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. This show may be subsidized in whole or in part by a product sponsor or issuer. Securities and advisory services offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. All other services offered through Brayshaw Financial Group LLC are independent of SagePoint Financial. SagePoint Financial and Brayshaw Financial Group do not provide tax or legal advice. Main office is located at 116 South River Road, Bedford, New Hampshire, 03110, and can be reached at toll-free 855-226-8551.
Well, bye.